Do I have a treat for you today? If you are into before and after reno projects with a homestead's twist, then this video is for you. If you're new to my channel, my name is Amy, and I am suburban homesteading with my wife and my kids in Ontario, Canada. And we do a lot of food growing here, but we also do a lot of food processing. So we grow the food and then we have to do something with it. And often that involves canning. That means that I have a lot of jars and I have a lot of tools. And so I really need a space to store all that stuff. When we were house hunting for this place 5 years ago, the cold room was a huge bonus for us. I mean, the yard was the main thing, but then the cold room was just the cherry on top that made us really want this place. And we came from a house that we rented the main floor and the upstairs, but somebody else rented the basement. And so we didn't have any cool basement space to store food. And we've been homesteading for decades. So we had to make do, and it was not always easy to find a way to store things that liked it cool. So this cold room was a huge win, but then from the day that we moved in, we just filled it with stuff, and it stayed full of stuff for the last 5 years. Yes, there was some food amongst that stuff. We did put our canned goods in the cold room, but we also put all of our Christmas and holiday decorations. We put our winter gear. We put just tons of stuff. So this winter, Kim started tackling our basement storage solutions. Kim is an amazing carpenter, and I am so excited to show you the after. But first, let's look at the before. I am taking you on a tour of my before cold room, which is going to be a little embarrassing. At this point, it is early January 2026, and we have a lot of Christmas stuff here that needs to go in a storage space, which used to be our cold room. But that cold room will no longer be for Christmas stuff, for bins of things. It's going to be only for food. So we've got a big shuffle going on in our basement right now from one storage area to another. I have canned goods that I'm not putting away yet because part of our revamp of the cold room involves taking everything out. So why would I put more stuff in? Come and see what it looks like right now. I have to close the door behind me or kids are going to drown me out. Currently we have these narrow shelves here and they are a mess. Everything it doesn't have a proper home. I have some random home canned goods mixed with everything else. And then we've got random shelving here and random shelving here. I'm going to need a place for canning rings and canning lids and things like that. Currently, I have multiple ways of storing them and it's a mess. And oh, there's some canned goods still sitting on the floor. So we've got this shelf right now for home canning and a couple of boxes of jars that don't fit on these shelves. And then it's just a mess of things. We have one squash left over that we need to cook up. Oh, and a couple tiny pumpkins there, literally tucked in behind random paper rolls. It's a mess in here. So this is where Christmas stuff always was for us, in all these bins and kids' outdoor clothes when it's the off season and wrapping things. This is where our Christmas trees sit. We have 2 giant boxes that have our artificial trees in them and they sit in that corner. And then when they're there, it's this very, very narrow walkway here. It's probably 18 inches wide in order to reach things I don't even know. I don't even know what's here. And then when we look back towards the door to the cold room, there's shelving here that, it's fairly organized. There's adult craft stuff we don't want the kid to have access to without us. There's some family heirloom china and random things like that. And then there's brewing equipment. We used to brew beer quite often, a couple batches a year, and we haven't really been doing that lately. So I think we're going to downsize the brewing stuff, particularly bottles. Right now there's a bunch of boxes just of empty bottles that we can store somewhere not here, maybe in my mom's cold room. Got the brew kettle and extra jars and more canned goods. I put soups and tomato products and empty jars and apple cider all in this shelf randomly. It doesn't fit together well. There's empty bottles of weird sizes, empty jars sitting here. So it's just a bit of an awkward cold room currently, which is why I am so excited for Kim to get in here and start working on this cold room remodel. This is another part of what we're working on. This is our laundry room. There's some shelving in here over top of our freezer and basement fridge. We have a big upright freezer in the garage as well. So this is just sort of our tiny overflow one because I hate chest freezers. But this is all kitchen appliances here. and they are precariously stacked. They are such a mess. I've got like food processor parts here. So all of this has to be somehow included in our cold room because everything food related goes in there. I hope you enjoyed the tour of the very messy and disorderly cold room. It is now present day again, and I'm really excited to show you the after. But first, I'm gonna make you wait just a minute here. I'm working on something to put in the cold room today, and that is some beef bone broth. We make a lot of our own preserves here. Obviously, that's kind of what we do as homesteaders. And one of the preserves that we make a lot of in particular is broth. That's because Kim, my wife, can't eat alliums. How many times have I said that on this channel so far? She can't eat alliums, and every single broth you can purchase from a store has alliums in it. So that is one of the things that we consistently make. We make beef bone broth, we make chicken broth, we make veggie broth. I can it and I keep it in the cold room in our pantry storage so that we can use broth whenever we need it. So making the broth and canning it up has been on my to-do list. And now that we're gonna be touring the cold room, I figured I should get that done and we can put it away together. And I can maybe get 2 birds with 1 stone here, putting it away and giving a tour. If you haven't made broth before, perhaps this will be interesting. If you have made broth before, I don't know, and maybe it'll be nostalgic. I'll talk you through my process a little bit, but this isn't meant to be an instructional or anything. It's just how I make my beef bone broth and then can it. I buy my beef bones for broth specifically because we never buy the cuts of beef that come on the bone, so I just don't tend to have beef bones left over. When I make chicken or turkey broth, I just use the leftover carcasses from the chickens that we've eaten at home. I use a roaster oven to first roast up the bones, getting them all caramelized. This step enhances the flavor. So I do this at about 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and then once they're caramelized, I turn the temperature down to around 300 degrees Fahrenheit, and I add water. I let this simmer slowly, just the bones in the water, for about 12 to 24 hours. That's why I love using the roaster oven. I feel more comfortable letting it run all night than I would a pot on the stove. After the first simmer with just the bones in the water, I add some carrots, some celery, a bit of garlic, maybe some bay leaves or thyme or something like that. As I said, Kim can't eat onion, which is why I make all of our own broth. Once the veggies are in, I keep the simmer going for another 12 hours. And when it's done, I strain the liquid. The solids just go into the municipal compost, but if I had a bokashi system, I could compost those bones at home. I've heard that some people will make bone meal for the garden out of the spent bones, but I don't know how. And I also don't think I would have a need for that much bone meal. We do make a lot of broth. After it's all strained, I want to cool the liquid. And so I usually only make bone broth in the winter, so I can just set the pot outside to cool down. I never have room in my fridge for such a big pot. The reason I cool it is that the fat will rise to the surface and can be easily removed. I usually render this fat down and then store it in my fridge for a cooking fat. I return the broth to the heat, this time just on my stovetop. And once it comes to a boil, I'll add it to the preheated jars. I preheat my jars in the oven when I'm pressure canning because you wouldn't have a boiling water bath canner full of water to boil them in, so I just bring them up to heat in the oven. Once they're full of broth, I clean the rims to get any fat residue off, and then I put on the lids, and then I load up the pressure canner. Aside from the time it takes the pressure canner to come up to pressure and then depressurize, you really only have to process these pints for 20 minutes, so it's not that long actually. It is the next day and our beef bone broth is totally canned up and sealed, ready to go down to the cold room. So let's load it up and go see. They don't really warn you in YouTube school how dangerous it is to film yourself while you walk downstairs carrying a big tripod. Probably pretty dangerous. I'm gonna go in first and put my broth away. Here it is. These are the beautiful shelves that Kim made. This is such a better organization system for our canned goods. And these little railings here help to keep jars from falling off the shelves. We don't get a lot of earthquakes here, although it does happen. But what's more likely for us is that a cat gets in here and climbs up on a shelf and knocks jars over. I have had a cat knock jars of broth onto this concrete floor before, and then it's just like broken glass and fatty liquids all over the floor, and it's not a fun cleanup job. So this is mostly, again, to protect from the cats. But we have a good organization system going on now. I have these chalkboard stickers. We thought about sanding this down, painting it with chalkboard paint, and then writing right on it. But honestly, we didn't really feel like sanding down this just regular old pine. So I just used the stickers. But I will tell you, it is hard to write with a nubby little piece of chalk on a bumpy piece of wood like this on a vertical surface. So my writing looks like child's writing, but I can make it out. I can understand what I wrote. Right now, this is about half capacity for our canned goods because it is February. So we have eaten through quite a lot of our food right now that comes from the garden at least. So the shelves are about half full, which is perfect. We should never run out of space on the shelves, especially because we do have a top shelf that we can expand to if needed. Right now I have like these tall flip top bottles up on the top shelf, a box full of little jars of vanilla extract that we made up on the top shelf. And then mostly it's just being left empty. So here is our broth. Here's the beef broth that we just canned up. That was all that we had of the last batch. There are 4 jars there. And then we've got chicken broth and a space for veggie broth, which has to happen soon. And we've got canned beans along the bottom and then canned soups down there. I'd like to fill this shelf, but that's just a lot more canning left to do. Maple syrup goes up here, which is about to fill up because it's almost maple syrup season. That's all we have left from last year, 4 pints, which surprisingly my family can go through in probably 2 months. This shelf is not filled yet. However, we have a lot more tomato products and salsas and things coming in the next year, so I want to leave that available. And also meats. When we do our meat chickens next, I'm not sure if it's going to be this coming fall or not, but if it is, it would make sense for the meats to go above the broth here and here. I do a lot of pickling of whatever veg we have because it's a really easy way to put it up. You only have to water bath can it or steam can it. You don't have to pressure can, so it's quick and easy. And that's why we end up with all these pickles. We have 2 shelves that are just pickled things. There's pickled cucumbers of all the different varieties, but then also pickled beets, pickled radishes, pickled asparagus, pickled cucamelons, pickled dilly beans, and then we've got mustard beans and relishes on these shelves as well. I have pressure canned things like beans before, but I don't like the taste or the texture, so I would rather just pickle them and then I freeze them to eat like green beans throughout the winter. This is all of our jams and juices and syrups on this wall, which is handy. It's easy, I think, for the kids to just duck in the door and grab a jar of jam when they need one, which is really the only food item that they come here for. And down on the bottom here, we have these crates. We picked these up on Marketplace recently for an amazingly good price. I got 13 of them for 40 bucks. They're produce crates, they're collapsible. So we have our potatoes in here. And this is the last of our no-till potatoes. There's still one big crate full of the blue ones at my mom's, but we didn't really love those. But it's nice because they just tuck neatly in under here. And we can expand as needed for that. I don't have a perfect solution yet for my clean jars. I'm still keeping them in bins under the shelves. I guess that works. It means that they stay clean, they don't get dusty. And if we just spin around here, this is the pantry items that we used to have crowded on a shelf with some of our home canned goods. And it's much better organized. And yes, we are a real family and we have craft dinner on the shelf for those emergency situations or not. Sometimes you're just craving a good KD. It's a lot more organized now, but I don't have labels because these pantry items, I think, are probably a little bit more flexible than our canned goods. We get different pantry items at different times, but it's nice to have a space for all of our oils and vinegars in bulk and salts and baking products and pastas. That's been really nice. Here's some of our extra crates that we have, and that's all I have left of my garlic from this year, but I purposefully planted a smaller amount because Kim doesn't really eat it, and so I cook with it a lot less. That actually will probably be enough to do us until we get the next harvest in. But I just don't like seeing dwindling supplies of anything, you know? Perhaps the biggest change in this room, besides the shelving, is the fact that we brought in our deep freeze and our basement fridge into this space. Kim had to do some rewiring. There was no electrical on this side of the basement. So we actually had to put a new breaker in that was a 20 amp. I don't know electricity, but she does. So that we could power these bigger units here. And also we just didn't have any 20 amp breakers, and that would be useful to have. So she did that. And now we've got a plug on that side for the fridge and freezer and a plug on that side for our little oil radiant heater thing, because it can drop below freezing in this room when it's very cold outside. We have like an air circulation pump unit that's just not hooked up in here yet. But like when it's minus 20 outside, there's a hole to the outside right there. And it has dropped down to 0 in here before. Only once. We have a little thermometer, and that heater kicks on when it is cold enough to kick on, and it just keeps things around fridge temperature, which is like 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. We also have canning supplies. So this is the roaster oven that I was using, and oh, it's damaged. And the big pot that I was using, and my pressure canner. And we've got like citric acid and a pickling crock and preserving supplies in here. Beer, gotta have beer. And the big turkey roasting pots, things like that are in here as well, plus the last of our homemade beers. So yeah, I think that this system works really, really well for us so far. I've actually been using the cold room this way for a couple of weeks now. I just hadn't gotten around to filming. There were a couple things I wanted to clean up still. And it's been so, so nice to be able to know exactly where my stuff is when you need to grab it, and knowing that there's now room to put things away. Before, I didn't have room for things, so I was having boxes of filled jars just sitting around the basement because they just didn't fit in here. And this solves that problem completely. I also no longer have to walk into our laundry room to get tools that I need to do my canning and my cooking. It's been so, so nice. And actually Kim right now is working on the laundry room. We lifted all the tiles, and now she is stripping the old paint off the floor so we can properly sand it and repaint it, and really just starting from the ground up. She's gonna put some beadboard on the walls and just try to make that laundry room look nice and functional. This is meant to be fairly rough, like it's just the rough cuts of wood. It's supposed to be functional. It's not supposed to be beautiful, but to me, it is incredibly beautiful. And this is a gift that I am so thankful for. Thanks for watching this before and after tour. If you like this kind of content, please let me know in the comments. I don't think that the algorithm particularly likes when I do this kind of thing that goes off of my usual concepts. But if you enjoy it, I would love to know. Thank you for watching, and I hope that you'll come and grow with us.